Facebook. Hi, everybody. It's me, the lady with the Jewish lady, cat lady glasses. I'm reading a bio, so you get to, what? It's got this thing here. Oh, man, I don't want to have some kind of pop-up thing going on when I'm trying to do. It decided to give me some kind of crazy thing. Sorry, you guys. I got a pop-up from Zuckerberg, and that's not something I wanted to deal with right now. So right now we are live, and we have me trying to find my stinking notes here. I don't understand why all of a sudden the notes are gone. This has happened to me twice today when I need the notes. Please bear with me, everybody.
Trust me, there's not much here to fill in the time, so I'm not that interesting.
You are that interesting. The intro you sent me on Facebook Messenger, right?
I did, yes.
And it's missing.
On mail, by email.
All right, well, I don't have access to that because you don't want to hear the story. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a generic one and do the best I can, and we're going to go through your life, and you're going to fill me in. I'm going to roll. This is where improv comes in.
Oh, I hear you. Yes.
There's two of you here.
Oh yeah, no, I do that sometimes, and you can just go ahead and kick me off if you want.
Okay.
The other one.
Okay, I removed you. Awesome. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in while I try to find something for the second time today. It's been that kind of challenge. Welcome to Comic Spot, you guys. We're really live. Zuckerberg didn't do a trick on me this time. You're on there. If you're on my page or you're on Andrew's page, Andrew Plagainos is here today. Plagainos. I was very close.
It's Greek to everyone.
It's Greek to me. Oh my gosh.
Everyone.
So Plagainos?
Yep, perfect. Plagainos. And listen, I grew up with my name, so I don't get upset if people mispronounce it. That's not actually a thing, you know?
Cool. Andrew Plagainos is here. He's from Long Island these days, grew up in the upper northeast part of New York State. He's with the Veterans Comedy Assault, which I'm loosely associated with and a huge supporter of. Anything going on in Long Island for comedy and veterans, helping veterans to cope, or doing comedy for veterans, fundraisers for firemen, whatever. They're all doing great jobs. I love Veteran Comedy Assault. This is how I met him. I told this group that where we have a class weekly that I go to like once or twice in my life so far. I want to interview you all. We got him on here today, so we're going to get to know him. I want to hear all about his life as a kid, being funny, starting to do comedy. What's it been like? Tell us about his experience with Veterans Comedy Assault and what you have planned for your future. On your mark, get set, go.
Okay, so 1975. No, I was born a white boy in originally from Astoria, Queens. Born in Manhattan at the hospital my mom worked at, but moved out to Long Island when I was like 5 when my parents got divorced, like so many of us of a generation. And I was kind of a weird kid. I didn't get along too well. So I got into theater, which was a really good idea to make myself more of a target. So I just started performing and realized, like, I really enjoyed performing, like being the center of attention. We all kind of have that. There's a baseline narcissism that goes along with anybody who's in any performance art. but more so stand up because it's a look at me, look at me, look at me kind of thing.
Look at me. Don't look
Yeah.
at the other. Look at me.
Right. I was like my class actor, and I did like every play that came along, but it never was 100% like what I wanted to do. And in school, I was very active with the drama society, and I took drama classes, and there was a lot of improv, and improv always felt like it was the most comfortable thing.
Mhm.
But I joined the Air Force right after I graduated high school.
Okay.
And I was stationed in North Dakota, was my first duty assignment, Minot Air
Wow.
Force Base. We used
Yes.
to say, why not Minot? Freezing's the reason. There's a woman behind every tree. There are no trees in North Dakota. So yeah, and did that. I did a little bit of theater there. Then I was in Korea for a year. At Osan Air Base. Then I was at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina, and I did a couple of plays with local community theater there. But it always just wasn't quite right. But when I got out, I took a improv class at Upright Citizens Brigade on the advice of a comedian I talked to after a show. Because I had no clue. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do, but I took a few classes Upright Citizens Brigade, started performing there a little bit. It's back then it was like this is 2002 at this point, 2003. Like it was very like you got called last second to like fill in for somebody. But I stopped, and then I kind of got married, had a couple of kids. And I realized I was super unhappy and that I really would like to do something. And a friend of mine actually looked up like open mics and sent me a list. And there's a fellow named Evan Weiss.
Love him.
Yes, Evan's open mic that was down in Bohemia at that time at a bar called Shakers. I started going there and I was absolutely terrible. And I knew I was terrible, but at the same time, stand up is stand up is truly the most narcissistic in both good and a bad way. Everything else, like acting, you are you're saying somebody else's words, somebody else's creativity is coming out of you under the direction of somebody else. And when you do improv, it's collaborative. It's like, purely collaborative. You cannot do improv by yourself. So stand up is the one where you're really just out there by yourself, your material, your delivery, you're directing yourself. Like there's nowhere to hide, which I actually really love.
Me too.
Because you can't blame anybody, but you can also take all the credit.
Absolutely. I totally get what you're saying. So you've taken a lot of improv and you've taken a lot of comedy stand-up instruction.
Well, I took the only stand-up class that I took was actually at Governor's in Levittown. John Truson was the instructor. And I actually took that about a year and a half, 2 years after I had started stand-up. And I found it to be, everybody used to tell me, oh, you should, don't go to a class, don't go to a class. I thought it was fantastic to have started. I had like 5 minutes, and I kind of was stuck. And that helped me really like get some more material and get my brain going.
Yes.
I also, so now I do have like, I have a lot of time, but I really can only put together maybe like 2 different 7-minute sets. But I also do a character, Dracula.
What?
That's what like a lot of most of the people on Long Island, that's how they'll mess with me, is that they'll joke around that I do this Dracula act, which is really taking like old hacky premises
Mhm.
and turning them into vampire jokes.
Wow.
And it's more of it's like a love note to other comedians because it's just taking like really stupid, like not stupid, but things we've all heard, like about dating websites, about the length of CVS receipts, DNA tests. You know what I'm saying? Like things you hear all the time now,
Yes.
and just like making them apply to a vampire.
Oh, I love that. How creative are you? How'd you think of that?
It was kind of by accident. I was performing on a Halloween show about 2 years ago. Well, obviously, because it's not Halloween, like 2.5 years ago. And it was suggested that we were all going to dress up. Like everybody who's going to be on the show would dress up. And so I was I felt really uncomfortable that I was going to dress up as somebody and then go up and do my regular act. It felt weird to me.
Mhm.
So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be hilarious if you got up there as the character and did whatever character that was,
Mhm.
like as if they were doing comedy, and you know, thinking of like who the classic monsters were and whatnot. And so Dracula was sort of a very obvious, very natural choice. There's already been a lot of comedy done with Dracula,
Mhm.
so it was just making the decision to not. I kind of it was a sort of an homage to Tony Clifton. Also, I kind of make him. He's like a lounge singer type feel to him, but he also laughs at his own jokes and like
Wow.
yells at the audience to laugh. Otherwise, he's
Wow.
going to kill them. Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's a lot
I
of
bet
fun.
that's a I bet it's a real hit.
It actually, it very much it's it's so embarrassing because it's like it's doing a character which I don't know, like the people that you run into, but definitely like the social circles I'm in, comedy wise, characters are sort of looked down on a little bit,
Mhm.
sort of like impressionists, because
Mhm.
you're really not doing your comedy, you're doing comedy for somebody else. It's like a once removed thing. It's not as pure as
Yes.
just getting up there and do and your truth, speaking your truth, right, is what
Yes.
we're all really trying to do at the end of the day. But I think because the first time I did it was at Halloween, and everybody was there, enjoyed it. But then I did it on a 420 show, so it was a bunch of stoners, and we were
Wow.
like, "Oh, this would be," and it was actually John Butera. Have you met John yet?
No, but I've seen him around. He's a friend on Facebook. I love what he does.
What a great guy, and very like very smart, very inventive. He was the first one who told me you don't have to just do this on Halloween. uh,
Nice.
and it was one of his shows and was on 420. So I got up and I did it, and I think because what it was my intention was to make the comedians laugh. That was my original intent with that, was to make them go, oh, I see what he's doing. He's taking a piss out of all of these other, you know, we all have jokes that are like with premises that everybody does. And I did. There were moments where nobody in the crowd was laughing, but the comedians who were down along the side, I could hear them laughing, and I was
So
like, okay,
fun.
this is good. That was all I needed. Afterwards, the guys came up and shook my hand and said, "Oh my god, that thank you. You know, it really made my night." And I was like, "Oh man, this is I
Wow.
love this, lightning in a bottle." So I've just
Wow.
been, and it's funny because then like comedian friends of mine will be like, "Oh, you should do something else, like a different monster." And uh, my running joke is that I'll do Frankenstein, and I'm just going to stand up there and go for 5 minutes, which would be hilarious for us, but not for the crowd.
Yes. That's there's so many funny things a person can do to kind of poke fun at the rest of the comics. And it's like speaking in parables because the audience doesn't really know you're playing to the comics.
Right.
So it can be fun to do that.
Well, I made a puppet for this last Halloween. I actually made a bat puppet, and so I have the bat puppet. Like I do, like it's not a crappy puppet. I'm actually pretty proud of it. I sewed it myself and everything, but it's like I'm doing crappy ventriloquism. So like my lips totally move the entire time, but I do because I do like a voice like this. For him, I do like this, a little higher. So it's exactly like I'm trying to make it crappy in a
Yeah,
way.
I
And
love
then
that.
and then what I do is I tell street jokes, vampire street jokes.
So you're kind of like a vampire. You're doing vampire dad jokes.
Yes, like literally taken, like totally ripped off, taken from books. Like I'm not even trying to do anything like, but that to me is the originality. Is these jokes, like the thing is, I've been doing this. I say in one of the lines is I've been doing this for 600 years. I know this kills.
Oh, wow, that's great.
But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and that's everybody I've met has been fantastic, and comedy has really kind of taken on to be my social group.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I say it's like being in the best episode of Welcome Back, Cotter that there ever wasn't. I love it. I love being around comics.
And it also, like, I think I'm in my 40s. It exposes me to like a lot of like these 20-year-old guys who I don't know what their world is like at all. I've got two young daughters. Like anybody who's 20 years younger than me, I've no reason and I have no entrance into their world. But I get to, even just from the social aspect or watching them at mics, I kind of know what's going on in the world as a whole. I'm not stuck in my lane.
Absolutely. So I'd like, before we transition out, you're super interesting, and I know you've got a lot. We didn't even touch on your military or your growing up or a whole lot more. So I'd love to have you back next month.
Oh, thank you.
So when we get off the phone, when we get off this phone, let's Facebook message and get an appointment for August.
Okay.
But before we go, the thing I'd love for you to touch on is that you are part of the Veterans Comedy Assault. And some of these people are tuning in for the first time, or, they don't know Long Island comedy from Adams, And so
Right.
would you mind doing a pitch? What is it? What do they stand for? What is your involvement? How long? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no. So the Project Nine Line is my understanding. I'm sort of like a second or third generation entrant into Veterans Comedy Assault. Um, I so Project Nine Line is a group that connects veterans with arts to help them transition into civilian life. And I actually have a friend who also has an organization that's like that. And I had actually first met Patrick, who runs Project Nine Line, at her wedding. And like I found out about the comedy class through Tugboat Manny Arias. And he said, "Hey, come down." And like I had already been doing comedy, but they offered a class. So I actually took that class at the same time I was taking John Truson's class at Governors. And what it was just a bunch of like, and they're primarily older guys. Like I'm one of the younger. I'm not the youngest. I'm the second to youngest member. But it's a bunch of guys. It's a really great fellowship of just sitting around, breaking each other's shoes, and talk about old experiences, becoming funnier, hopefully. And we get hired out to either perform at gigs that are fundraisers for a lacrosse organization, or we did the state veterans home. We did a show there as part of their recreation program. So it's a really great program. everybody is really funny most of the time when we're not on stage. The only times guys aren't funny is when they're on stage. It's very sad. I don't know why that happens. Just
So, in the course of a year, Project Nine Line and Veterans Comedy Assault do about how many shows up in Long Island or fundraisers?
well, like I said, this was my first year. I just had my first anniversary like 2 months ago, and of course
Okay.
everything shut down. But and it's funny, like the ones you can and can't do, and the ones you really want to do, because the guys were asked to go to the VFW convention in Reno, but of course that got canceled. So that was going to be a real feather in the cap. And I'm sure I'm hoping that it'll happen. Like, and it doesn't matter who goes, kind of thing. It's just like get the organization out there. But it looked like there were at least 2 a month that from the schedule. So there's at least 24 shows throughout the year, and maybe one month there's one, and another month there's three. But
Got
it
it.
averages out to about 2 a month.
So who's going when the world opens back up again? Is it Veterans Comedy Assault or Project Nine Line that's going to Reno? Because that's right by me. I'm in Vegas.
Well, it's Veterans Comedy Assault,
Okay.
but like that convention got canceled, so
Yeah.
I think the first opportunity will be next year.
Okay. Well, I
I don't,
want to meet you guys there. I want to go there and meet you and support you guys.
well, I know Manny will definitely be there, and John Rago will very likely be there. So, and then hopefully somebody gets sick so I can go.
Yes. You know, I just want to tell you congratulations on your background that you have of your face. And this is the first time anybody's t-shirt has been their own nose. That's awesome. You know, like that's a first on what's it say?
Oh, it says I bake so I don't punch people in the throat.
Totally. Yeah. We have to do what we have to do, not to punch people in the throat right now.
Yeah, I don't know, because they might cough all over me and get me sick. So that's the
Yes.
only reason. Literally the only reason to
Yes.
not punch people in the throat.
I've really enjoyed you. The minute I get off, I'm going to book an appointment with you for you to come back on and talk more about your military experience and all the things in your life that inspired your brand of comedy, like favorite comedians and your brand of comedy. And you can do some jokes if you want. I want you back on because this was a short one for you. I think you got a lot more to say.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I am a stand-up comic. So yeah,
Right?
I have a ton to say.
Right. He wants attention, you guys. Give him attention.
Look at me.
Look at him. I've got enough. You know, they found out where I live. I live at a veterans, it's called Veterans Village. I mentioned it in the class.
Yeah, I was on that day. Yes.
So, okay. So they know that I'm a Vegas comedian. And the other day, that's all they know, right? They don't know like, and so I'm in my apartment, tapping away on my computer, knock on my door. Excuse me, is your apartment flooding? I look on the ground. If they wouldn't have knocked on the door, I'd have probably electrocuted myself because my
Oh my
sink
God.
had flowed into where I was sitting on the computer.
Oh my
So
God.
dodge that bullet. So I said, well, you know, it turns out I had left it. They had turned off the water. So I put a rag there so no bugs would come up. Don't even ask. And so I have this rag. And so when the water came on, it overflowed the sink, right? So the next day, I'm telling you, this really happened, Andrew. The next day, there's a note on my door. And I'm like, this doesn't look good. Because I remembered the day before, I'm not that bad off. And so I read the note and it literally, I took a photocopy of it. I'll send it to you if you want me to prove. They said, it has come to our attention. Nothing good ever comes out of that.
Yeah.
It's come to our attention that you flooded your apartment on purpose to get attention. Yeah, that's what they decided in a bubble. They came up with this equation. I'm like, dude, I'm a comedian. I know how to get attention. I don't need to flood in a. That's where I was going with that joke.
Nice.
Yeah. Crazy world we live in right now. Everybody's going nuts in their own special way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Me included.
Me too, from moment to moment. Thank you so much, John Plagainos. Plagainos?
Andy,
Andrew, what did I
that's fine.
say?
That's John, but that's fine. My father
Andrew.
was a John. There's John Rago. There's a lot of good Johns to be associated with.
I was so busy trying to remember your last name and how to pronounce it that I messed up the first.
Yeah, just
Of
let
course.
the last name fly. I know who's, I know it's me,
Plagainos.
Perfect. See, you just don't even think about it. You just say it.
It's Greek, right?
To everyone.
We got to talk about that next time too. I'll get right with you for a date. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Everybody's talking.